In Frankfurt, Germany, Sarah was at a playground with her young son, Josh, when she heard the sound of a helicopter overhead. This sound triggered memories of her time on a mission in Afghanistan. At that moment, a man arguing with his friends accidentally bumped into her. Reacting instinctively, she punched him in the face and quickly subdued him. Realizing the gravity of her actions upon seeing her son, she apologized and released the man. Years later, while taking Josh to work with her, Sarah received a notification on her phone from an investigative journalist who claimed to have new information regarding her experiences in Afghanistan. He had sent her a video as evidence. As she began watching it, she became distracted and noticed that Josh was missing. In a panic, she found him standing quietly in a corner and reminded him to stay close to her for his safety. Shortly thereafter, they arrived at the U.S. consulate building, where Sarah had secured a job with a security company and planned to relocate to the United States, bringing Josh closer to his father's family. His father, an American, had died during a mission in Afghanistan, a loss from which she was still healing. After completing the necessary paperwork and waiting for their flight, Josh played nearby until Sarah decided to take him to the children's room while she waited in the corridor for their flight number to be announced. When the announcement came, she hurried back to retrieve him but found that he was missing again. Frantically searching and calling his name yielded no results. Overwhelmed with fear, she reported the situation to the security team, suggesting that her son might be in one of the offices. However, the security team lacked the authority to conduct searches and referred her to Eric, the head of regional security. He allowed her to search several offices, but despite her efforts, Josh remained unaccounted for. In distress, Sarah began to cry and blamed herself for leaving Josh unattended. To comfort her, Eric shared a story about his own daughter and assured her that they would do everything possible to find her son. The entire security team was mobilized to search the building but found no trace of him. Sarah recalled seeing a man and woman carrying a bag earlier and suspected they might be connected to her son's disappearance. She urged Eric to open a door leading to a high security area, but he refused. Eric then escorted her to his office, where he reviewed her resume and expressed gratitude for her military service. Donovan, another security personnel member, informed Sarah that she had arrived alone that morning, providing her with a list of individuals who had entered that day, which contained only her name. Skeptical of its accuracy, Sarah insisted that Josh had interacted with others in the corridor, including Donovan himself, who denied this. She suggested reviewing surveillance footage for clues, but Donovan informed her that he had already checked and confirmed that only she had entered the consulate building. Consequently, Sarah was compelled to contact the German police to report her missing child. The police informed her that they were already aware of the situation. However, they could not enter the consulate as it was classified as a diplomatic facility beyond their jurisdiction. Faced with this reality, Sarah expressed concern that if she left the building, she would not be allowed to return and would lose any chance of finding her son. With no resolution in sight, the conversation reached an impasse. Sarah concluded the call and attempted to exit the office, only to be intercepted and restrained by Eric, who tackled her to the ground. Consequently, she was compelled to await the arrival of the German police for her removal from the consulate. While Sarah remained with Donovan, he abruptly received a phone call and left to address the matter. Seizing this opportunity, Sarah picked the lock and opened the door to make her escape. To evade detection by building security, she climbed out of a window and attempted to jump to the adjacent side but unfortunately fell, breaking through a ventilation door. This allowed her entry into the building via a corridor, where she broke into a guest room and discovered Irina, a Russian woman being held as a political refugee. Recognizing that Sarah could navigate the building undetected, Irina offered her assistance in exchange for help in escaping. News of Sarah's presence within the building reached Consul General Deborah, who, upon reviewing Sarah's file, expressed a desire to arrest her immediately. However, Eric contended that such an action would be detrimental to Deborah's reputation and insisted that he would manage the situation personally. Sarah deduced that the only viable escape route from the building was through a warehouse inside, with her primary suspects being two individuals seen earlier carrying a bag. She attempted to subdue a guard to acquire his key card for easier movement throughout the building. They successfully entered a secluded room, where Sarah noticed a storage unit bearing a symbol resembling that of the bag carried by the earlier suspects. After breaking the lock and opening the bag, she discovered what appeared to be contraband flowers, leading her to conclude that they were smugglers. The duo returned to the guest room with another bag, prompting Sarah to speculate that her son Josh may have witnessed something during the earlier exchange, which could explain why he had been taken to silence him. Their discussion was abruptly interrupted by a knock on the door, and when Irina went to investigate, two Russian assassins burst in to attack her. Fortunately, Sarah was nearby and engaged one of the assailants in combat. Although she was momentarily incapacitated by a punch, She quickly recovered and utilized her close-quarters combat skills to subdue the first attacker. Meanwhile, Irina managed to improvise a flamethrower, incinerating the second assailant and allowing Sarah to finish off the remaining attacker. As Sarah pursued Irina, she was cornered by Donovan, who injected her with a sedative, causing her to lose consciousness. Upon regaining awareness, Sarah found herself restrained to a bed and immediately began recounting her experiences to Deborah, including her encounter with Irina. Deborah expressed concern for Sarah's well-being and mentioned that Sarah's mother had previously called to report that Sarah suffered from a medical condition leading to delusions. She asserted that Sarah's claims regarding her missing son and the incident with Irina were unfounded. Skeptical of Deborah's assertions, Sarah requested access to surveillance footage as evidence. Eric presented her with camera footage showing her wandering alone in the building and engaging with a security guard. Deborah suggested that perhaps Sarah's experiences were mere figments of her imagination and informed her that the German police would arrive the following morning to resolve the situation. Upon awakening for a second time, Sarah found Irina posing as a staff member attempting to facilitate her escape. Doubting her own perceptions, Sarah questioned Irina's reality. To provide reassurance, Ina recounted her past as part of one of the wealthiest families in Baris, revealing that her father was a notorious criminal involved in money laundering and was ultimately killed after switching allegiances, which instilled fear in his former associates. If Irina had not reached the U.S. Embassy in Minsk with the assistance of the CIA, she would have faced death as well. The USB drive she had concealed contained crucial evidence that Russian operatives were determined to reclaim, which kept her trapped there for several months. Recently, Donovan approached Inria regarding her passport, prompting her to suspect that something was amiss. Sarah remained skeptical about Irina's authenticity despite the evidence captured on the camera footage. To prove her existence, Irina attempted to harm herself, but Sarah intervened, and they escaped through a window to avoid detection by surveillance cameras. They navigated through the crowd unnoticed until they found themselves in a conference room. Irina sent a message to the consulate via their internet connection, hoping that the owner of a duffel bag would come to retrieve it. Shortly thereafter, they received a notification from Zoomer requesting a meeting, and both parties agreed to convene in the cafeteria, as it was the least expected venue. Upon meeting the owner of the duffel bag, he assured Irina that he would take her to her son once he received the package. However, Sarah noticed something peculiar about the man's behavior and concluded that he was being dishonest and did not know her son's whereabouts. She requested his assistance in locating her son, given his high security access as an IT staff member at the consulate. Sarah needed a floor plan of the premises and a key card for entry into the building. He instructed Sarah to meet him in the men's restroom in 20 minutes to retrieve his bag. At that moment, Sarah spotted Eric with his daughter across the cafeteria, but he soon became distracted when the surveillance room lost camera feed and left without realizing he had left his daughter's walkie-talkie behind. In the men's restroom, the IT staff member informed Sarah that he could deploy malware into the server, providing them with an hour to act before the cameras resumed operation. He exchanged the floor plan and key card for the duffel bag. Sarah then incapacitated him to create the appearance of a deliberate attack. Believing Donovan could assist in locating Josh, they proceeded to his office to examine his computer. They were stunned to discover a series of files detailing Sarah's arrival at the consulate building, revealing that everything had been orchestrated from the outset. They decided to investigate the backgrounds of the consulate's leadership and learned that Eric was also a military officer who had served in Afghanistan and was a regional expert on Islamabad, Pakistan. This indicated that the video Sarah had on her phone from the beginning was attempting to convey an important message. Consequently, Sarah resolved to contact the journalist who had sent her the footage for further clarification. A journalist informed her that Eric was a corrupt operative who had consistently evaded accountability for his crimes, as he was acquitted every time charges were brought against him. Recently, a news source alleged that Eric was responsible for the attack in Afghanistan that resulted in the deaths of 8 soldiers, including her husband. While they were discussing this, Donovan approached the office, prompting them to quickly download a clearer screenshot of the moment Eric was seen with a terrorist. Sarah launched an attack on Donovan to facilitate their escape from the office. Although Donovan pursued them, they managed to flee through an opening that led to the roof of the consulate. Irina clarified the image related to the incident in Islamabad, and Sarah recalled seeing that man with Eric during the war in Afghanistan, though he had been presumed dead. News of Sarah receiving the email reached Eric, prompting him to search for her at the warehouse. Sarah advised Irina to escape the consulate by hiding behind a truck while she distracted the armed soldiers. Sarah ran toward a truck, creating an opportunity for Irina to climb onto it. However, a barrage of gunfire caused her to collide with the truck. After fending off several security personnel, Irina attempted to catch her breath but was attacked by Eric, who struck her multiple times before they fell into a pool. Eric tried to drown her, but Sarah managed to escape, finding a gun and aiming it at him while demanding to know her son's whereabouts. Eric admitted that he had her son and assured her that the boy was currently unharmed. When Sarah pressed him for the reason behind her son's kidnapping, she revealed her knowledge of his conspiracy with a terrorist in Islamabad. Concerned for her son's safety, Sarah set out to find him. She changed her clothes to disguise herself and, with only 4 minutes remaining before the servers came back online, devised an improvised explosive device that she detonated on one of the floors. The explosion caught Deborah's attention, leading her to instruct Eric to implement military protocol to locate Sarah and eliminate her on site. All civilians in the building were promptly evacuated. During this time, Sarah encountered Ellen, Eric's daughter. She deceived the girl into believing that her father had sent Sarah to retrieve her by demonstrating a walkie-talkie trick. Sarah then took Ellen to a safe room and contacted Eric to inform him of their location. Eric arrived on the opposite side of the safe room, where Sarah demanded he return her son. She explained that the safe was steel reinforced and could only be opened from the inside. Detonating it would risk injuring his daughter. Drilling into it was not feasible either, as it would exhaust the oxygen supply before they could finish. She asserted that if Eric wanted to see his daughter alive, he needed to provide her with information about her son. Deborah attempted to negotiate with Sarah for the release of the girl, but Sarah declined, stating that Deborah was unaware of the secrets Eric was concealing. Unable to bear the thought of holding a young girl hostage, Sarah resolved to release her on the condition that Eric join her in the safe room for a discussion. Following the exchange, Sarah expressed to Eric that she was willing to sacrifice her life for his secrets. Her only request was for him to release her son and take him to her mother. Eric disabled the intercom system to prevent their conversation from being overheard. He revealed that it was him who had facilitated Sarah's employment in the U.S., enabling her to come to the consulate. He explained that he had to kidnap her son and erase surveillance footage to portray Sarah as delusional. Sarah realized that Eric could easily eliminate her, as she was the only witness to the events in Afghanistan. The plan would have succeeded if Irina had been killed by the two assassins, allowing Eric to blame Sarah for Irina's death. However, they had underestimated Sarah, as she had dispatched the assassins herself. In a sudden turn of events, Eric shot Sarah while also wounding himself and handed her the gun before fleeing the safe room, shouting that Sarah was armed. As she lost consciousness from blood loss, memories flooded back of her time in Afghanistan with her husband, where their mission had gone awry, resulting in the deaths of everyone except her. Back in the present, Sarah refused to give up and attempted to reach the door before it was forcefully opened. It was revealed that she had been recording her conversation with Eric throughout their exchange, broadcasting it via the intercom system for all to hear. Upon realizing this, Donovan fled, while Eric was apprehended on the spot. A rescue team was dispatched to save Josh, and Sarah was ultimately reunited with her son. Thank you for watching the entire film. Please remember to like and subscribe to our channel for more great movies.